Hi friends. I thought I'd just jump on really quick and let you know some life updates and have some questions about what happened to that lively girl on trail. So I thought I'd just give you a quick recap and let you know that I'm training for PCT 2023. I was on trail for about 21 days. The first 4 days was coming out of Bernie, and on the 4th of July I went around a corner really fast and landed really hard and sprained the heck out of my ankle, like the worst sprain I've ever had. So I was laid up in Dunsmuir for about 5, maybe 7 days. All of my friends sent me money to make sure that I had funds to stay in a hotel with my foot above my head for a while. And then I was hosted at Lake Siskiyou. I don't know if it's a state park there. It's a campground though, and it's beautiful. So nice. And then my plan was to skip ahead and go to Ashland. But Rocks talked me into starting at Dunsmuir, and my concern was Castle Craig's is super steep and rocky and hard, and it was like 96 miles to Etna, and that's a long time to be out there alone. And I was going super slow. Everybody was passing me, so I wasn't hiking with anybody. But I did it. I did like 6 miles one day, and then 12 miles. And then I was going to do 16 miles, but on the third day, it was awful. I got stuck in a burn zone and had to go almost 22 miles. It was really hard, and my ankle was so mad. And that day I would have quit. If there was a town nearby, I definitely would have quit. And then after I made it to Etna, actually, before I made it to Etna, these little spots in the woods, like where the water comes up, like a spring or a little creek, little fairy garden. They're so nice to relax at, and I was suffering from altitude sickness so bad. I was so nauseous. Anything over 6,000 feet for any amount of time, I was just sick. And most of the Northern California is above 7,000. Maybe 7,500. Anyway, it was bad. I was super nauseous. So it was 10 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting down at this little fairy garden, and along comes this guy, and we start talking. He's like, "Oh, where are you going?" I was like, 8 more miles to Etna, because my batteries were dying. My Garmin was almost dead, and my batteries were dead, and my phone was on emergency reserve. And anyway, he goes, "Oh, well, if you come to Paynes Lake, I'll let you use my battery charger." And that was the beginning of me hiking with Uncle Nomad. I made it to Paynes Lake, and it was 3.9 miles to Paynes Lake from where we were. And what a pain in the ass to get to Paynes Lake. I had to walk through a burn zone, up and over all these freaking blowdowns. That section is 32 miles of blowdowns. Awful. Just awful. Anyway, so we made it through there, went to Paynes Lake, met some new people, and then it was 9 miles, 6 miles to Etna. Not far to the Etna trailhead. And so everybody went ahead of me, and I hobbled my way to the trailhead, and everybody was still there. And so Uncle Nomad and I and somebody else, I can't remember her name, rode into Etna, had breakfast, and then Etna is actually a really great spot for hikers. You set up your tent in the city park, and you go to the grocery store, and you get tokens and a towel for $5, and you pay for camping at the park, which is $5, and so you got a shower and a place to camp for $10. It's pretty good. And the food in town is really great. And, but the signs at the park are so confusing. You like try to tell you where to put up your tent so you don't get hit with the sprinklers, but I just set up my tent underneath a tree, and like 10 o'clock at night the sprinklers came on. I think I'm the only one that didn't like hustle. I just zipped up my rain fly, called it a night. I'm like, I'm from Seattle. The rain doesn't bother me. I just listen to the rain all night. And then the next morning everybody's like, didn't your stuff get wet? I'm like, psh, I have a rain fly. I will continue to carry a rain fly. So Etna was really great. And then I got an Airbnb the second night, and this little lady reminded me of my grandma so much. She had owls all over the place, and she was so sweet, and her home was all like just perfect to have company. It was really nice. And then from Etna we hiked into Said Valley. And like the first night, I think I did 17 miles, and I was just dead, and I didn't know where Uncle Nomad was, and every freaking tent site was on the trail, and I don't like to sleep on the trail. I want to be off a little bit. Anyway, I come hobbling into camp, and Uncle Nomad saved me a spot, and I didn't really meet anybody that day because I was really grumpy. I was just hurt and tired. I felt like every camp I'd gone to, I had to fight for a camp spot. So crowded out there. You hike alone all day, and then you get to camp and all the tent sites are taken. Anyway, I've had some bad nights out there trying to find camp. Anyway, Uncle Nomad saved me a tent spot, and the next day we head out really early, like at 3:45 or something, to beat the heat. We had a 7,000 foot climb to do, and I lost my glasses. Anyway, and I made it to like this little shelter area, and had a southbounder come by me and was like, hey caveman, I told him where I was camping, and I just hit 200 miles. I made a little 200-mile marker. I was like, if you could really look for my glasses there, I'd really appreciate it. And I'll be damned. 3 days later, I got a text from him. He was like, I found your glasses, Lively. I was like, wow, that was pretty amazing. So that was good. And then that day, I met Tough Cookie and Gits there. They showed up at that same lunch spot. And then we just kind of leapfrogged each other all the way into Said Valley. But Gits there got bit by a rattlesnake. And we didn't know it until like the next day. And Uncle Nomad and I like took off and walked into Said Valley early in the morning. And then Tough Cookie and Gets There, 6 miles, they took forever, but turns out Gets There couldn't walk because her leg hurt so bad from the snake bite. Anyway, it was a dry snake bite. She didn't end up needing care or anything, but we decided kind of as a group that we should get out of Said Valley because there's nothing there, like as far as services or anything. There's literally a post office, a store, and an RV park. That's it. And we had been staying at the RV park, which was just like another deal where you pay $20, you get a shower, you can do laundry and camp. And then the guy, who's an acquaintance of the manager, I guess, we made a deal with him to get a ride to Callahan's, which is on I-5, just out of Ashland. And he totally gypped us. I made a deal with him. 4 of us would pay him $150 to get us there. And we get to the gas station. He's like, well, it's going to be $50 to fill my tank. So we gave him $200 to get a ride. Whatever. So, lesson learned, I need more cash in my pocket when I'm hiking. I was just thinking I could do my cards, but no, need cash. Anyway, after we got to Ashland, we took a couple zeros and then came up with a new plan. And Gets There decided she wanted to go back and tag the border, the Oregon-California border, because she was almost done. before she got bit by a snake. So she went back to Said Valley. And I don't go backwards because I know fire season's coming. So I was like, nope, forward I go. So Uncle Nomad and I and Tough Cookie went forward to, our first stop was Hyatt Lake Resort. And Gets There went backwards to tag the border. Well, as she's doing that, the next day, a fire broke out, a McKinney fire, and we didn't know that until we got to Fish Lake. But we went to Hyatt Lake Resort, which is super great. Super great. Their PCT camp was $2 and you get a shower, and their resort was super affordable, $3 beers, like normal priced food. Their cabins are $100 a night and they don't have air conditioning. But the campground was great. Showers were great. And then we hiked into Brown Mountain Shelter. I mean, I think we did 2020, 2012. And like I was getting 10 miles by 10 o'clock. And by the time I got to Brown Mountain Shelter, I wanted to die. It was like 21.65 miles and I was so tired. We hobbled into camp and my body was so sore. I told Uncle Nomad that 20 miles is my limit. And he's like, oh no, I told him 18 miles is my limit. And he goes, I think 20 miles is your limit, Lively. Oh, anyway, 20 miles. And after that, I am a wimp. I'm telling you, it is hard to go farther than that. Then the next morning we woke up and smelled smoke, and didn't have any service until we got to Fish Lake Resort. And like on the way into Fish Lake, we had 12 miles from Brown Mountain Shelter. And on the way in, it was super smoky, but we didn't know what fire it was from. We knew there was a fire behind us. We knew there was a fire in front of us, so we were trying to figure out, like, what's plan B? What are we going to do? We could have walked to Crater Lake, but if you've been to Crater Lake, you know it's pretty remote, and the rules say you can't hitchhike out of a national park. And so I was thinking, well, I'll skip to Cascade Locks and start Washington and come back when Oregon's not on fire is what I was thinking. Anyway, I hit 300 miles and sent my kids a text, and my son got a hold of me to let me know that my daughter-in-law's mom had been killed. And then between the fires and Susan, I came home. It's time to be done. So I've spent the summer with my kids and my grandson, trying to just keep normal going. And today I started work. So now I'm working on my body to keep it trail ready so that I can jump back on trail in 2023. So that's the story. That's why the videos just stopped. Just have had a lot of life happen in the last 2 months. So just trying to juggle all the things. But I appreciate you all following me and asking questions about me and, being worried. But to be continued, July 2023, I plan on picking up at Fish Lake and moving forward. I haven't decided about that section between Said Valley or not, but for sure, I'll be starting at Fish Lake. So anyway, that's the story, friends. Love you all, and we'll be in touch.